This movie is going to be about measurements that you'll need to do PVC piping projects. First thing you're going to want to figure out is if the tape measure you're using or have is going to serve well for the job you're doing. This one example, you're going to need a measuring tape that will fit inside the size of pipe joint fittings you're going to be using. This one won't go inside, it's too big, so it won't work for this project. It may work for bigger size pipes, 1 inch and bigger, but for this one can't use it. Just giving you an example. You need something that will go inside the PVC pipe fittings. The way to measure the depth that the pipe will be inserted into the joint is to look inside the fitting. You'll see a little lip on the inside. That's the stopping point for the pipe. It can't get pushed any further than that, and it's on all sides of the fitting. So you're going to need that measurement for all your fittings. So to get that, you insert the measuring tape till the metal tip gets stopped by that lip on the inside, and look down perpendicular to this surface right here. Keep your tape measure perpendicular to the fitting as well, and get your measurement. So that's 3/4 inch. So now I know for this T, the pipe joint depth is 3/4 inch on all three sides of this. Now this elbow right here is also made by the same company as this T, but we'll see that the depth on this one is actually different. It's actually 1 inch. So these are things that you're going to need to be aware of before you start your project, because it'll throw you off if you anticipate all fittings being the same depth. That's over 1 inch. See right there. So everything's different. What's really helpful when you're going to do a project is to buy all of your pipe fittings from the same manufacturer, like this. Then you just measure once and you know that you're good. So if I'm going to do a project with this brand, what I'll do is I'll just take a piece of paper and mark down the depth I measured for each pipe joint. On the elbow it was 1 inch. On the T's it was 3/4 inch. And I'll show you how that comes into play later on. But you're going to need those measurements, especially when you're piping up to a fixed object. Understand if you're doing underground work in a 6-inch wide trench where the pipe will eventually be buried, you tend to have a lot of play. You can move the pipes here and there, swing it around. You're going long distances, so sometimes there's some flexibility, but in a setting where you have to pipe up to a fixed object, you have to be dead on, or very, very close to dead on, to make it work properly without putting, a bad type of tension on the pipe and the fittings. So that's the first step. You need to know your joint depths before you can start your project. Now, let's say we're going to build up just something outside. We're going to add another hose bib to an existing system. We're going to have our main feed light come down right here. This is where we're going to tie into that. Glue in here, have a valve, turn it on and off. Then we're going to come over here and elbow down to another ball valve right here. So let's say we know this is where the feed water pipe's coming down right here. That's not going to move. We can't move it. So we have to work with that. And then we have something over here that we can't move either. So basically we're going to come straight up here and we have to tie it into here. So we need to make sure that we get this distance correct when we're gluing our joints. If we're too short here, we'll put a bind on it. If we're too long, we'll put a bind on it that way. So we want to be dead on. We've done our measurements and we figured out that this gap needs to be 2 inches, just to make it simple. So let's say we need a 2-inch gap between the edge of this fitting and the edge of that fitting to make our project work. So we're going to come over here and measure out two inches right there. So that's a 2-inch gap between the edge of this elbow and the edge of that T. Now I can refer back to my notes, and we're going to do a little bit of math. We're going to add this 2-inch piece plus 1 inch to go into the elbow plus 3/4 inch to go into the T. So our total length of the pipe that we need to cut to fit into this piece is going to be 3 3/4 inch long. So we're going to grab our pipe. Put measuring tape on the pipe. Come up to 3 3/4 inch and make a mark. And that's our 3 3/4 inch mark. Now when we cut the pipe at that mark, we can glue it, and it should fit exactly in this distance right here between the two joints without messing up the the distance that we needed it to be to line up with this ball valve down here. So anyway, those are some I guess basic things that you need to know before you can really do a PVC project. Now, these are like 2 different tees from different manufacturers. So what you'll find out is they all tend to be slightly different in dimensions. If we're gonna do some building outside of the work area, which tends to be easier sometimes if you can build up some manifolds or glue up some pieces up on a workbench and then move that piece to the location where it will be installed. Sometimes you need to know exactly how big your fittings are so that you can plan accurately. So if you want to know how big your fittings are, I'd like to put it up against something that's sturdy and perpendicular, or it has a straight edge. I mean, put the joint up so that I can have this surface parallel with this surface. I'll put my tape measure up against there, and I can look down and measure, and that's 2 inches. This is a different manufacturer. That is also 2 inches. Then I may need to know this distance, so I'll put my measure tape up there, and that is 2 5/8. That is 7, 9, 11, 6, 2 11/16. So you can see these 2 fittings differ by about 1/16 of an inch. So not much, but they are different, which is another reason why you just stick with one brand of fittings for each project, and it'll make your life simpler. Because then when you come here and look at your notes, you can get all your measurements and plan accordingly.